All right, good morning. Thanks for joining me. Today, we're going to be covering business systems analysis. Everything we're going to talk about is based on the book you have. You have this book. You got this about 10 minutes ago.
Yep.
You read it all.
Sure have.
Okay, good. So that way we can all follow along. So everything is in here and more. You also have a couple of other books as well. You have this sample business specification called vendor registry. And I don't want you to open that right now. If you open that right now, who knows what will happen, right? So don't go there. I'm going to come back to that a little bit later on. You also have this book as well. And this book is exactly the same as you see on the screen, except when it's different. So you just follow along. You can write in it. It's a good place to keep notes. There's your hard copy of that. So let's talk about business systems analysis just for a moment. You notice that the name of this course is Mastering Business Systems Analysis. Excuse me. A term that's become very, very popular in the last few years is business analysis. Prior to that, we used to call it systems analysis. Some people call it business systems analysis just to keep us all on our toes. So what's the difference? Well, business analysis has been around for a long, long time. There's nothing really new there, and that's not what this course is all about. Business analysis looks at the strategy of the business, the competitive advantage, the return on investment, the marketing aspect of it, and so on. And that's not what this course is about. Systems analysis today mostly has to do with the implementation, the technology architecture, the solution design. That's not what this course is all about. This course is about finding out the requirements of the business and how we can specify that requirement in such a way that it can either be purchased, acquired as commercial off-the-shelf software, or it can be outsourced to a consulting firm, or somebody can do the solution design. In other words, find out what the business needs, what they want, and then be able to put it into an organized structure in such a way that somebody can actually buy something or build something from that specification. And that's why I've called it business systems analysis. So having said that, let's take a look at what we're going to be talking about. So, let me just go back here. Well, we've all had this problem for some time. There's always somebody who says it simply takes too long to figure out the requirements of the business. And whether it takes a month or a year or 10 years, it's simply too long. There's another problem, and that is that there are many, many organizations, good-willed project managers, who say, well, we can't really figure out the requirements anyway. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows that it's sort of abstract and fuzzy, and we're not sure what we get in the end. So why don't we just do a little bit of it, and then when we've exhausted our budget and the time allocated, then we'll just stop. And then we'll start building something. So in other words, get on with the real work, which is the software engineering. Well, times have changed. It was like that back in the last century, and it's been like that for maybe 40 years. But times have changed. So we're going to eliminate this problem of business requirements simply taking too long. We're going to bring it down to a manageable piece of time, something that any organization can work with. Our objective with this kind of analysis is simply just one goal, and that is to have a successful project. You can't have a successful project if you don't have a good specification. If it's not a good specification, then it's something else, isn't it? So we need to be able to do it quickly. It has to be seen to be done quickly. If something's done quickly but nobody knows about it, then we're not ahead of the game. It has to be provably complete. In other words, everybody says, yeah, we've got it all, except for the stuff we haven't got. Okay? If you ask at any point, have we got everything that we need? Well, you gather 7 people into the room and you ask, do we have everything we need? And everybody looks at everybody else and says, well, I can't think of anything else. And the analyst says, well, I can't think of anything else. And the client says, I can't think of anything else, so we must have it all. And of course, that's wonderful until we get to the time of testing time. Then we find out that there's all kinds of stuff missing. So when I say it has to be complete, it's not just another one of those nice statements. It has to be proved. How do I know it's complete? How do I know we've got it all? If there isn't some way of determining, proving that we've got it all, if there isn't some way of doing that, then it isn't any better than all the abstract methods in the world. Have to be able to prove that we've got all the answers, that we have all the requirements, that there are no errors and omissions. We have to be able to prove it. And that's what we're going to do in this course. We're going to do it fast. I'm going to tell you a little bit later what I mean by fast, what the metric is, because one person's fast, another person's fast could be different things, but I'm going to give you a metric. And I'm going to show you how you can figure out how much time is required to do the requirements analysis right up front on the very first day of the project. And as we go through this, I'm going to show you how we can determine that something is complete. How do I know it's all done within the time frame that we're going to project? So this course is about doing it fast, but there are a number of challenges that have been around for a long time. One of the challenges is that things are complicated. When people start talking about systems, we talk about, oh, that's a complex project. We talk about, oh, that's such a big project. Oh, that'll take forever to complete. And I'm going to show you how we can work with the idea of partitioning the effort to minimize complexity. In other words, how we can break it down into small pieces so as we can make it fit in here. If we can minimize what we do, the effort, break it up into small pieces, then we can tackle it one piece at a time and still result in being able to look at the big picture and be able to see that as well. So one of the things that happens on any project is that everybody suffers from the blank page syndrome. Everybody's heard about that, the blank page syndrome. A project comes on, is started, there's a memo sent from on high, and that memo either has almost no information at all about the project, a paragraph saying nothing, or it comes accompanied with reams and reams and reams of documents, usually to do with the hardware and the architecture and the platforms it's going to reside on, but doesn't say a whole lot about the requirements. It comes with some kind of a scope thing that somebody has speculated on. And the analyst, you've done this, I've done this, we sit and we scratch on a pad. And we start wondering where to start. Where do I start? Where do you start a project? Now somebody will say, of course, you start at the beginning. Well, where's the beginning? Projects today are not simple little things. So where is the beginning? One, if you have a project with several clients representing several different business areas, the beginning will be different for each and every one of them. So what's the answer to this blank page syndrome? How do we overcome the blank page syndrome? Well, I'll give you the answer and we'll work on it a little bit later on. We'll see how it works. The answer is start wherever you like. That's your beginning. It doesn't matter where you start. Not at all. A system is like a neural network. Pick a place, pick a node, and start there. That's what we're going to do. I'm going to show you how that works in a little while. We're going to focus on how to deliver the documentation that's provably complete and as accurate as your subject matter experts to make that information in your organization. By the end of this course, you're going to understand exactly how business events, and I'm going to explain what a business event is in a little while, but how these events, business processes, objects, we're going to talk about what an object is, and data all converge, all come together to make up a system. Sounds complicated? No, it's not complicated at all. It's about as simple as it can get if we distill from the subject matter all the stuff that makes it complicated. I'm going to show you how to do that in a little while. We'll also find out how the business rules establish the behavior, the required behavior of the system, and then we're going to look at how to find those business rules. Where are they? How do we get them? How do we get them without complexity, without problems, without upsetting the client, without pulling teeth to be able to get it? We'll look at that. Excuse me. There's another issue, and that is sometimes there are business requirements that get lost. Business requirements that fall off the end of the table. These things that we call errors of omission, they show up around testing time, bad time for things to show up in terms of what's missed. What happens at testing time, we find out that something is missing. The client says, well, we don't have such and such. And the development team leader says, well, that's because you didn't tell us. You didn't tell us you required that. So of course it was missed. And we point the finger at the client or the subject matter experts. But then the subject matter experts and the clients, they turn around and say, well, wait a minute. We didn't tell you because you didn't ask. So one side says you didn't tell us. The other side says you didn't ask. That seems to be a problem. We have to eliminate that gap. We have to be able to have a way of finding things that we might not find any other way. Stuff that falls off the end of the table. So as we can say at the end, it's complete. And we know it's complete, and here's the evidence that it's complete. And we're going to look at that. We're also going to talk briefly at the end of this about discovery sessions. How to work with the clients, how to work with the subject matter experts to discover their requirements, to find out exactly what they need. And we're going to do that in sessions that require only an hour or less of the client's time. We don't need to spend a lot of time with them. They don't want to do that anyway. They have their real work to do. They have their own work to do. So they don't want to take all that time out and spend it with us. So we're going to look at how do we do that in a discovery session of an hour or less. And there's a whole lot of other stuff we're going to also cover in this course. Here you have the agenda. You have this in front of you as well. Here's the agenda for the course. We're going to look at the foundation, which is what we call the business event. We're going to look at the processes and the objects and the data and the rules and how to write the narratives. And then we're going to come to Project Scope Blitz. Now the Project Scope Blitz actually is what we start the project with. But we're not going to start talking about it first. We're going to look at everything else first so as we can put the Project Scope Blitz into context and understand what the ingredients are. And we're going to work on a project. We're going to work on a project called the Tortoise Project, the Transplant Organs Reservation and Distribution Information System. And I'm going to show you how we would work through that. And finally, of course, there's the final exam. Did they tell you about the final exam? Did they? Oh my goodness. Well, let me give this out to you here. Final exam. You can pass those out. Thank you. Thank you. So you can do that at the end of the course. You're going to do that. We're going to give you certificates. Here we have the certificates. Looks something like this. And we'll try to spell the name correctly. And you'll have a certificate at the end of the course as well.